Hello, my name is Lindsay Handy, and this is my personal introduction as well as Module 1 questions for school law. To start out, I'm originally from Miami Beach, Florida. I've lived in Florida, Bogota, which is in Colombia, Kansas City, and I currently live in Denver. I have two boys, Blake, who's 22 months old, and Liam, who's 7 months old, and they're pictured right there. And as far as my hobbies, really anything that involves my boys is what I like to do. Little about my education. I went to Emporia State University where I got my degree in elementary ed in 2016. And I'm currently getting my master's, like most of you, through Fort Hays State University. And I'm said to graduate in May. A little bit about my work life. So I'm currently in my 4th year of teaching. I taught in the Turner School District in KCK for 1 year. Then I went to Smith Elementary in Denver, and I've currently been there ever since. I'm a first grade teacher. Smith is a Title I school, so we serve kiddos of really low SES and have some trauma and social emotional issues or needs. Like I said, Smith is a Title I school, and my position next year kind of will be shifting. I'm going to be the literacy lead, so I'll be implementing a new curriculum throughout the school, as well as coaching teachers and supporting them. So now, moving on to Module 1 questions. What kinds of supports do public schools receive at the following levels of government? So as far as local, accountability and operation of government-run schools is delegated to the local bodies. Each district is governed by a superintendent and other members of the school board. The federal and state provide some funding, on average about a little less than 50%, but the rest of it actually has to come from the local school boards, and that's done by collecting taxes. Moving on to the state, primarily they're accountability and oversight for government-run schools, but usually, like I mentioned before, most of that is given to the local. The State Department of Education generates a set of benchmarks for student achievement in reading and math, so like think the Common Core state standards. They're also in charge of creating, implementing, and enforcing other standards for other subjects, for example, social studies or science. And they could be different in each state. And the state provides for slightly less than half of the school's operating cost. When it goes to federal, funds about 10% of the government-run schools and operating costs. The funds do come with rules and regulations that need to be followed. They regulate and enforce the educational reforms passed by Congress. They create laws such as IDEA, FERPA, ESSA. They basically protect our students, making sure that none of their civil rights are violated or anything like that. So who's in charge of these various levels regarding education? So back to the local level, the Board of Education and essentially the superintendent hired by the Board of Education or chosen are in charge of the local sector, and their duties are basically to create, implement, and enforce school board policies. And the two positions, the superintendent is paid very well actually, and the Board of Education, they are individuals who volunteer their time. On the state level, the governor is in charge, as well as the commissioner of education. In my case, the governor, I'm in Colorado, so the governor is Jared Polis, and our commissioner is Katie Antz. And their primary duties and responsibilities are, making funding decisions, state standard decisions, state testing, really accountability for the rest of us. They're actually the ones, or Jared, Mr. Polis, are involved in the major decision making as far as like closing schools for this coronavirus, anything that is in charge of education on the state level, really. And both of these positions are paid. And then at the federal level, the person who's in charge would be the Secretary of Education. So in this case, currently Betsy DeVos. And the duties of that position is really give students the right to a free and high quality education, protecting their civil rights, support state and school districts. Oops. And this position is also a paid one. So out of the three levels of government, which ones have the influence over which component? So component 6.1, I said that it was more of a local influence. And that's primarily because it talks about the school level governance and to promote the mission and vision of the school. So when we're talking about the specific school or school district, I think more local. For component 6.2, I actually went with both the local and the state um, because basically it has to do with that informed and equitable resourcing plan. And so when you think about like the big picture plan, so like Common Core state standards or really any like big planning, that would be more of the state, but then like enforcing it at the local level and tweaking it for your particular district or school. And that supports the school improvement and student development, of course. And then finally, 6.3, I was leaning towards federal, but really also state. And it has to do with implementing laws, rights, policies, and regulations. And so when you think about the federal level, yes, like these are like the federal laws that like keep our kiddos safe and receiving their free, high quality education. And then also the state, because the state has a lot of say in the policies and regulations that our school districts have to abide by. How does all of this support the educational success and well-being of each student and adult? So I think that number one, like we know in education, collaboration is key. And with careful collaboration of all levels of government, federal, state, and local, we can support the educational success and well-being of each student. Our federal government helps create laws that give accountability for keeping our students safe, protected, and learning. The state follows those guidelines while coming up with funding formulas, state standards, and testing requirements. And finally, locally, we bring it all home. We create school districts, policies, and actually make it happen with each and every one of our students. And finally, my resources. Thank you.